Hi Sharath, how are you?
I'm good, Rakesh. How are you?
I'm good. So can you tell us something about yourself?
I'm sorry, your voice broke up for a minute.
Yeah.
I
So
was not
Sharath,
able to hear you. I'm sorry.
yes, yes.
Hmm?
Now am I audible?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So Sharath, many congratulations to you that you have got the job and you have got multiple job offers, right? So would like to
Yeah.
congratulate you on the behalf of RD Automation Learning, right? So I'm
Thank
very
you.
happy to see that you have got a job, and that too in this kind of time when the cost cutting is there, layoffs are happening everywhere, and the people are struggling to get jobs. So how do you
True,
feel?
true,
What
true.
do you feel about this?
I feel I'm a bit quite blessed. Like I've not been working for like 6 months. The recession is so bad. I hardly had like 5 to 6 interviews in the last 5 to 6 months. So you get usually calls every day, but the consultants people will usually ghost you, and there are hardly any interviews that gets lined up. I think in this situation, getting a job is quite difficult. I think I'm really blessed. It's all because of your mock interviews, nothing else.
No, no. So see, one aspect is the mock interview. So that is we are glad that those mock interviews have actually helped you. But we would be more interested in your success story. Like, uh, shall we start with the first question? Like, how did you prepare for these interviews?
Sure, it took me about I had like 6 months gap, but I did not worry that much for the first 3 months. So in the last 3 months, I started working, learning about Java again, the core concepts again. Took about a month, and 1 month again for Selenium, and 1 month again for revision and my projects. So that's how I prepared. You need at least like 3 months to get prepared.
Correct, correct.
So that's
So
how I prepared.
yeah, so it took 3 months. So how many years of experience you have?
I have about 6.5 years of experience. Out of it, I have just 2.5 years in automation. The rest 3.5 with manual. So I worked in one single company. I started working there in BPO, then moved to manual and then to automation.
Oh,
So I have about 10 years of experience, but relevant in testing is 6.5, just in one single company throughout my work experience.
so you have switched from BPO to manual testing, so from non-IT to
Um,
IT. So that is again a
yeah,
motivation for the people who are watching this video, right?
definitely, definitely. Yeah.
So what is the approximate hike that you have got, the raise that you have got?
Um, the last company I used to get, the package around like let's say like 7 to 8. I've got a decent hike now. Like in this situation, getting a decent hike is I'm getting somewhere around like 10 to 12 in the bracket range. So getting a job itself nowadays is quite a challenge, to be
Absolutely,
frank.
absolutely. Yeah. Would you like to tell us about the name of the companies in which you were interviewed, and if you have any interview questions to share?
Sure, sure, sure. Let me share my screen. Just give me
Yeah,
a minute.
I'm giving you sharing
Could
rights.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, now you would be able to share your screen.
Okay. Okay. Let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, it is visible.
So the companies that I have given interviews for were like MNCs were like Emphasis, Schneider Electrical, TCS, Wipro, Persistent, and Tech Mahindra.
Okay, great. So
Okay,
these
and
six companies you have given
mhm.
interviews.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
So in the last 6 months, I have only got only these six companies for interviews. So,
Mhm.
the questions that I've highlighted in bold, so those are the very frequent questions that are being asked. So these are the questions that I prepared for, like in depth. If they ask me, like I would be able to answer. So I've prepared in such a way. But the ones that I've mentioned in like highlighted in bold, so those are the questions that are frequently asked in
Mhm.
the interviews that I had. So very most starting is like explain your project. If you could, this hardly takes like 2 to 5 minutes. So
Mhm.
on a high level explanation on your project, that would be okay. But this question would be very important, like explain your framework. If you can just explain it for 10 minutes, like make them understand about your framework, you're done with your half of your interview.
Okay, great.
Right. So, and apart from that, these questions are quite normal. The page object model, the OOPS concept, even this question is quite important. Like when you're explaining about, let's say they ask you a question on Java, like if you can tell them like way you have used in your framework, it makes you look very, experienced when you're giving an interview. So this one is quite important, this question. And these are very like the basics, the Selenium suite, the limitations that we have in Selenium, the basic questions, the difference between 3 and 4.0. What is Celanese? And the types of locators. The one thing that I've seen is like the 3 companies that I've taken interview, Emphasis, Persistence, and Wipro. They've asked me to write, XPaths, like not the normal XPaths, but let's say they'll ask you to open Google Chrome and they'll give you one element, which is an dynamic element, and which with only one attribute you have to write an XPath. So anyone who wants to give an interview should be very thorough with XPath these days.
Correct. And it
So
will
apart
be a
from
complex,
that,
sorry to interrupt. It will be a complex scenario.
Yes. Not the simple ones. They'll usually give an. Can I show you an example? If not.
Yes, please, if possible.
So let's say you have a Google search here. So if you inspect here, there will be a dynamic element for this. So in my last interview, they've asked me like just use data with just this attribute and write an XPath for it. So I used the first 4, the alphabets and used contains, and I was able to write it. So even the same thing for they can use it in Amazon as well. It has like different dynamics XPath. So you have to be thorough with XPath.
Correct.
Like even if you say you are using ProPath or select this up, they will definitely ask you at least to get a at least a close XPath.
Okay.
At least try for an XPath. So. Okay. And apart from that, the weights are very important. They'll usually ask you to write a small snippet for implicit or explicit weight. They have asked it in Persistent and Tuck Mahindra. They've asked me to write a small snippet for it.
Okay.
And types of navigation is straightforward, nothing else. Driver and quit, one straight difference between these two. Okay, and this one, click on a hyperlink. They usually ask you to do an invoke, like iterate it and do a small snippet as well. So even this is very important. And in Persistent, they asked me on how to do an assertion.
Okay.
Using soft asset, they asked me to write a small snippet as it for that as well.
Okay.
So CSS is not that much important if you ask me. XPath is fine. If you are good with XPath, then it's fine. So again, if you're using page object model in framework, they'll ask you to explain what page object model is and how you use it. And apart from that, these are straightforward questions. Can captcha be automated? Certain captchas can be automated, so you should be very careful when you're telling like it can. You shouldn't say like captcha should not be automated, cannot be automated. You have to be a bit careful because there are certain APIs where we can automate captchas these days now. So if you are like 1 year or 2 year experience, they'll ask you to handle. They'll give you a website and ask you to handle the web pop-up. And all the 5 companies have asked me to write a snippet for screenshots. All the 5 companies. So this is a very important questions. We have to practice how to take a screenshot. This is straightforward. Send keys, and even this question using select, you have to do a drop-down select. Even this they have asked me to write a snippet as well. So apart from that, the other questions are straightforward. Find and find elements is a very common question that is being asked these days. And one of the company asked me this question, like, how do you find broken links?
Okay.
So you can, use an assertion, see if the response is 200. If not, if it's 400 or 500, then so they haven't asked me to write a snippet for it, but they were expecting and how I would approach for that. this one also, like, what is the difference between single flash and double flash in XPath? So this was asked in Tech Mahindra. Okay, then apart from that, yeah, the same question, Selenium repeated. Okay, that's the same thing above. There are, so I, in persistent, they asked me like, if what weight would you use? What weight do you think is right? Like, is good? Like, is it an implicit weight or an explicit weight? So, like I said, like it depends on the situation. So either implicit weight or explicit weight would be good, like depending on the situation. These days they wouldn't ask you to write, snippet for launching browsers, but it's good if you know how to do it. Again, the navigate, how would you refresh, and if you can use send keys and how to refresh it.
Right.
Yeah. And the other question that I've seen, like in 4 companies, like they would ask me like, what are the OOPS concepts? They wouldn't ask you like what is inheritance or what is polymorphism. They would ask us directly like, what are the concepts that you know in OOPS, and how have you implemented it in your framework? So this one question would make them understand like what is your knowledge on the framework, or your like on the Selenium and Java. This single question would, give them a clear idea on about your experience. And apart from that, they've asked me like, if you tell them like you have used listeners in your framework, they would explain. They would ask you to explain how would you use an interface like iTest listeners or iSuite listeners. So this is also an important question. And the other question is like exceptions, like in your the mock interview that you usually ask, what are the exceptions that you have? This is very important as well. No such element, the other exceptions also. And the 2 companies have, this question is not unusual, but 2 companies did actually ask me to write a snippet for a data provider for the test engine. So this question is being in trend right now. They're asking like, how would you write a data provider? Like, what is the annotation? And if you're using a POI, what would be the return type? Things like that.
Okay.
So this is the, if anyone is preparing for an interview, these questions would definitely help.
Yes.
About like 70% questions will come just with your mock interviews on these questions. No, nothing else. Apart from that, manual testing, pretty straightforward questions, nothing out of the box. SCLC, what is pesticide paradox, ad hoc testing, and exploratory testing. Sometimes they would ask you a direct definition, or sometimes they would ask you like, if you do not have a documentation or you have a prior knowledge, what kind of testing you might do. Things like that. They wouldn't, similar for smoke and sanity, they wouldn't ask direct questions. Sometimes they might ask direct questions. And apart from that, dynamic testing and static testing, very frequently asked as well. And the difference between bug and failure. And they would also ask like, if you're using Jira, what's the defect life cycle?
Okay.
Apart from that, they would ask if you have written any test plan, or do you know test plan? And the other frequent question is like in manual is RTM.
Okay, yes, RTM is very popular.
Very popular question. Okay, and RTM, it's like if you can explain it very clearly, then it will be very helpful for your interview. Like even this adds like 10% in your interview. Apart from that, integration and the types is also very important. You have to know what is. So when they ask about integration testing, just do not give like one single explanation. If people can elaborate on how many types are there, and just give a small example, that will be very helpful as well. And the other standard question, priority and severity, they'll ask you like, give us a high severity, high priority examples. And apart from that, regression testing, they would ask you like, let's say if you're an automation tester, how would you do a regression testing? Like, would you do regression testing from the previous sprint, or like would you start the questions like that? And apart from that, you should be good with your testing techniques, like the boundary value, error guessing, and the other 2 techniques as well. Risk mitigation is not asked, but it is good to know. Like if you're experienced for about 5 to 6 years, there are chances they might ask about risk mitigation. Authentication and authorization, yeah. So if you're using Postman also, they would ask this question, authorization and authentication authorization. Defect lifecycle is one of the hot questions. Hotfix and patches are straightforward question. Defect age is also straightforward question. And one of the company did ask me like, what would you mention? What will be mentioned in the test closure report? So it's good to have just an overall idea about how a test closure report would look.
Yes, yes, correct, correct.
Okay, and error seeding is like in the current trend right now due to recession, because like developers are seeding errors these days. So good to know that. They would ask like, would there be any? Have you faced any showstopper defects or like any high-level priority defects, and how did you handle it? Like if you are an experienced, so this is usually asked in the managerial round, just to see how you are capable of handling a situation. And QC and Q, this was also asked in managerial round for me. And BDD, I actually learned. I did not use BDD before, so it's good to know like all the companies that approach like that have asked me for an interview did ask me like, did I know BDD? So like since we are not getting that of an approach right now, I think it's good people start learning like at least the concepts of BDD.
Yes, yes.
At least they know what are the keywords that are used. So even if you have people haven't worked, if when you have an interview, at least you try to give an answer, just let them know that like I was upskilling myself learning BDD. That could definitely impress the interviewers. Again, these are straightforward questions. Okay. This one also, if you're experienced, the freshers they did not ask, but experience they did ask. They asked me about defect leakage ratio. And apart from that, this one the bug release as well. Like they asked me indirectly, like let's say like the developers and testers and the BA knows that there is an issue in the product. Would you still release it? And like if you release it, where would you mention it? Like they've asked me this. UAT testing as well.
Right. So what is UAT testing and all those things, concepts?
Yeah. So they would ask like, have you done an UAT testing? Like if yes, then like how have you done it? Like would you do a end-to-end testing at your place or like the customer's place? And these are very popular. This is very popular managerial questions that they have asked. Like if you have a high priority release, how would you handle it in a short time?
Right.
Like, usually we know that our developers will not give the builds on time. Like how would you handle it? So that's the question that they ask. And coming to Java programming questions, 70% of the questions that they have asked me is just string programming. So whoever is getting prepared, just be very thorough with string programs. 70% of the questions are asked from there. Apart from that, the common questions is find duplicate Fibonacci series, duplicate numbers, duplicate characters, Fibonacci series, and palindrome. So these are very commonly question asked, and even these strings. So apart from that, you have to be very thorough with your collections.
Correct.
One of the company they asked me like, let's say my name like Sharat, you have to tell me like how many letters are there, like S is how much, H is how much, so you have to use maps for that, fast maps for that. So you have to be thorough with your collections. Apart from that, the same the string programming that I have mentioned over here.
Right. Is it possible if you can share this document on our email ID?
Sure. I'll send it to you after this. Yeah.
So
and apart from that, Java, you have to,
sorry to interrupt. These are all the questions. It's mind-blowing that you are able to recall and you have consolidated them in a document. It would be very much helpful for the people who will watch this video.
Most of these questions are from your mock interview. The ones that I've highlighted are the ones that I can remember from the interview that I have.
Uh-huh.
So this is how I prepared. Like I used to see your mock interviews every night.
Mm.
When you ask the questions, pause the video. I'll try to answer it myself, write it down. If not, then I'll unpause it and learn it from there
Right.
and dig a bit. So that's how I learned. Um,
Mm-hmm. Correct, correct.
so
Mm.
apart from this, Java, you have to be very, very thorough
Mm.
because these days they expect you to be very thorough with Java because there is very less job opportunity than many people looking for. So you have to be very thorough with all the Java concepts. That's for sure.
True, true. Okay, great, great. So you can share this document later. Uh, we'll
Mhm.
stop sharing your screen and we'll move to the next question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like the people will be interested to know. We also wanted to know, like, how did you apply for the job? Where did you apply? Did you use Naukri portal? Did you use LinkedIn? Or how did you get a call from the companies?
So the job portal, I just use Naukri and the Monster, the updated one, found it. Yeah, those two, only those two. Uh, the calls from there were very less, to be very frank. Those were usually from the consultants.
Mm.
So what happens is consultant, they take the interview and they'll ghost you. They'll never follow back. So apart from that, LinkedIn is very, very helpful.
Mm.
So anyone who's looking for a job, sit for 1 hour.
Mm.
You need to have a good connection, like um, apply what and all. There are certain tools where it will automatically fills all your documents, like the first name, last name, the resumes. There are some Chrome extensions that automatically does it for you.
Mm.
So you guys, people can take advantage of that. So
Mm.
at least like 100, applying 100 companies a day is a must. At least in this during this recession, it's a must to apply at least for 100 companies. So
Mm.
even that's not a guarantee that people will get a call.
Mm.
So So LinkedIn is very helpful. I think people should start applying in LinkedIn in priority now.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And what was the resume like? Do you have 2 pages or 1 page resume? Is it like that?
I had about 4 pages of interviews, resume. So the first page was my my I think 1 second. Let me open my resume.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the first. You want me to share my resume?
yeah,
Would
yeah.
that
If
be
you can
okay?
share and scroll down a bit so that your contact details are not revealed. We just
Okay,
want
one
to
second.
see what all
Okay. Yeah.
job roles and responsibilities you had in the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your resume. Great. 6+
Yeah.
years.
The first page I've mentioned all the professional summaries. So these days the HRs would not have time to look all the interviews, all the the resumes that they get. So
Mm.
it's good if you have people would have all the keywords that they are
Mm.
using in their first page or like in the resume. So in the first page, I've mentioned like what are the tools that I've used, uh, what are the language that I've know, what are the frameworks that I've worked on.
Mm.
And the other very important thing that I forgot to mention is people are starting to see if you know Jenkins right now. CI/CD is like very common these days. At least you
Mm.
have to know how the pipeline works. And there are instances where they ask like, if given a chance, would you be able to create a pipeline? Like, if would you be able to create a project in Jenkins? So it's
Mm.
good to know upskill yourself like in Jenkins would be very helpful.
Correct, correct.
And all the keywords are here. So this is very important.
Mm.
So apart from that, they have mentioned my previous company experience. This is
Mm-hmm.
my first project, and this is my second project. So I've mentioned what are my responsibilities over here.
Mm-hmm. Great, great.
And in the last page, have stopped my
Mm.
screen sharing. So in the last page, I've mentioned my basic certifications or my personal details over there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the most important thing that you have in that you need to have in a resume is your keywords. That's very
Mm.
much these days.
Mm. Yeah. So, Sharad, I think we are done with the questions and won't take your much of your time. It's already too late at the night. You also would have to take the rest. But I'm sure that
Yeah.
after watching this video, yeah. Sorry, you wanted to speak something? Wanted to say
Yeah,
something?
like everything till that I've done right now is only possible because of your channel and your guidance.
Okay.
People who are watching your channel will definitely, when they start looking at the mock-up interviews,
Mm.
I'm definitely down the line in at least 1 or 2 months, they'll definitely get a job. That's for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
your
no, let's
channel has
hope.
been very helpful for the community.
Yeah, let's hope that they get. What other content should be uploaded on our channels that you feel that should be uploaded and will definitely help people in getting jobs or in the career in
So the
making
one,
money? Hmm.
like, let's say, the selector sub that Sanjay is doing, like the
Hmm.
content that you're putting out, that is very helpful
Hmm.
because people these days do not like the company that I've joined. They do not know how to take an expert using in browser. Like
Hmm.
people watching your explanation on selector sub is very good. Apart from that, one thing that I found is like in the current community in the space, the Cypress or like the other tools that are coming up these days,
Hmm.
there are very less exposure for that. So if we
Hmm.
can start questions from that, or a small
Hmm.
a project, or like teaching, like if you can teach that one, that would be very helpful for people.
Okay, okay. So you want videos on learning Java, Cypress, Play, all those things.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it will be one stop for like all the testing needs.
Mhm. Okay, okay, sure, sure, Sharath. Thank you so much for your feedback. And once again, many, many congratulations to you. Wish you all
Thank
the
you, thank
best
you,
for your career ahead. Yeah.
thank you,
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good night. Yeah.
thank
Bye.
you. Good night. Bye bye.